Hello everybody, and I'm back again. I am your host. Wow, I sound like an egomaniac calling myself that, but Buff Been Stuffed. Once again, it is tea time with Buff Been Stuffed and a WrestleMania breakdown for all of you. And I said I did not want to do a whole long video doing every single match, break each match down, each big match, and then I just want you guys' feedback, you guys' comments, everything that you feel and think about it. Just type it out there and we can go back and forth. And the next match I want to talk about is, of course, the semi-main event, and I'm going to call it the semi-main event maybe. Brock Lesnar and the Undertaker announced for WrestleMania 30, and they already got the ball rolling on that. And a lot of people have been talking about this one. There's a lot of anticipation for this match stemming from way back. We all remember the infamous, let me get my props here, the infamous Undertaker doing the interview with Ariel Helwani at UFC 121. Brock walking past after getting his face caved in, and Undertaker, "You want to do it, boy? You want to do it?" We all remember that, and that created a lot of media buzz and attention. Everybody was like, "Oh, what did that mean? Are we going to see those two get into it? Was that real? Was that work? Was that, whatever that was?" And then more came out that apparently they wanted Brock Lesnar to do a match at WrestleMania the next year, 2011. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Then Brock, a year later after that, winds up in the WWE in 2012. And as soon as he signed, a lot of people started talking about seeing this Lesnar and Undertaker match at WrestleMania, or at some point. And obviously Lesnar, since he's been in, feuded with Cena, feuded with Triple H, which sucked the life out of me, feuded with CM Punk, which was a nice return to form, had some angles with Mark Henry, looked awesome in those, had a little angle, I wouldn't really call that a match, an angle with a Big Show. He just beat the piss out of him, which was, designed to prep him for WrestleMania pretty much. And now we've got this Undertaker and Brock Lesnar match. They had their face-off on Raw a few weeks ago. Undertaker came back as Lesnar asked for a challenge. He wanted the title. He wasn't going to get the title shot. Taker came out. Taker stabbed him pulled the cloak off, stabbed him in the hand with the pen, put him through the table, did the thing, and that was it. The match was announced, and now we know that that's the next match. Now, what are my thoughts on this match coming into it? And like any good analysis, you want to take something apart and look at all the factors that go into it. So starting with the Undertaker, taking him apart and going into what I think. Undertaker, I think, is only really going to wrestle 2 or 3 times a year. We're lucky if we get a match after that. And it was rumoured, there's always been talk about who Undertaker's going to wrestle at WrestleMania. And I have noticed since about, I want to say, after the Shawn Michaels series, let me sit this. After the Shawn Michaels series, there was a lot of discussion about who was left for him to face. And people were like, well, Wade Barrett was supposed to wrestle him at one point, or do something against the Nexus, because they did that angle with him. That was one. Then people thought they were going to do another Kane match. That was another rumour. Then there was a rumour that he was going to go in there with Sheamus at WrestleMania 27. And then they put him in there with Triple H, and he had the 2 WrestleMania matches with Triple H, 27 and 28, which were both very, very good. And very dramatic and very good. And then after that, it was like, well, who's next after that? And obviously people started saying Brock Lesnar, Brock Lesnar, Brock Lesnar, but they didn't go with Brock Lesnar at 29. They went with CM Punk, which was another great matchup, great little showing that they put on, probably the best match of that show. And after that, people are like, well, who's next? Who's next? Because it's like Undertaker is running out of options, and to me, you can kind of risk putting an up-and-coming star in there with him, but if the up-and-coming star doesn't win, it's going to hurt the up-and-coming star. And because it's the streak, and people, how can I phrase this? People buy into the streak, which is good, but they buy into it so much that it's quite hard if you've got someone that's very new or you're establishing, like a Bray Wyatt or The Shield, another group rumoured to do something with him at WrestleMania last year, that when you put those guys in there, the believability of them winning diminishes as the match begins, and I think that does hurt them. So the only thing you can hope is that they just have a strong showing against them, But realistically, it would be much better if somebody won. And if there's one time where somebody should have beaten him for the streak, and I know that this is going to raise a lot of controversy amongst people, but if there was one person that I would love to have seen, beaten for the streak, or would have enhanced that gimmick, it would have been Randy Orton and the Legend Killer gimmick in 2005 WrestleMania 21. And had he won, that probably would have significantly raised his gimmick and his whole Legend Killer gimmick would have really raised his stock, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And I think now the best formula really to do with The Undertaker is to put him in there with guys that are established, who've got longevity, and who've been there for a lot, basically someone like The Rock, or a John Cena, which apparently we might see next year, or Triple H, or Shawn Michaels, or even a Kurt Angle if he ever returned to the company, or a Brock Lesnar. So really, you're just kind of throwing two big names in there, and in a way it's easier to do that because you don't hurt the rest of your roster, by putting in a young guy in there and then he loses, and it's like, well, what's the point? And he's supposed to headline the next 6 pay-per-views, and Taker's going to be, off those next 6 pay-per-views. So, with that being said, Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, on the other hand, has come back 2012, came back to a roar of approval from the fans, had that angle with Cena where he F5'd him and kicked his baseball cap across the ring and challenged Cena, and he had that great pull apart brawl where he busted him open. Then they had that match which was great, but this is where the problems begin, because in my opinion, if you knew for years that you were going to do Brock Lesnar versus Undertaker, then with Brock Lesnar you protect the way that he is presented and booked and packaged. And to me, it's like classic, alright, if you want to use an MMA analogy or a reference, Vanderlei Silva booking. He comes in, he's a monster, he comes into this promotion, he destroys everybody that you put him in there with, and then when you finally put him in there with the big gun, the big guy, it's a huge deal, and it's got a lot more importance than it does. And I think that bringing him in for his first match, having him destroy Cena and then lose, didn't help him. Putting him in there with Triple H, the first match was fine, and he won by armbar, and I thought that was a great angle. But already, like, some of that heat, some of that aura was diminished, and it would have been better if he'd beaten Cena, beat Triple H, which he did. Then the WrestleMania rematch, which I thought was so boring, overrated, not what people think it was. And the way that Lesnar lost with Hunter standing on top of him, really like a massage of Hunter's ego. 101, I think that kind of hurt his aura a bit more than the rematch in the cage. Really wasn't anything special, to be honest with you. Lesnar was selling way too much for what, a monster should be selling for. And that's the problem. If everyone else has hurt him, when he goes in there with The Undertaker, it doesn't mean as much. It's just two big stars, but you need more than just that. It really has to have that special feel. And then he was in there with CM Punk, probably one of the best matches of 2013, the best match of SummerSlam by far. And then you have the angle where he destroyed Mark Henry, which was great. And then you had him destroy Mark Henry again, which was great, and bust his arm. Then you had him destroy the Big Show. And to me, it looked like, oh shit, we've diminished him a bit. We need to rebuild his aura and get his heat back. Because we're doing this match with The Undertaker. So I think in that respect, the match is a little bit hurt by that. Now, what do I think of the match itself? How's it going to be? Here's the thing. For me, WrestleMania should always have matches that we've never seen before. It should always have dream matches. It should always have matches that you hear about it and you're like, you know what, I've not seen that before. I need to go and see that. Daniel Bryan and Triple H has that advantage. Bray Wyatt and John Cena has that advantage. Brock Lesnar and Undertaker doesn't have that advantage. The only thing you can say, because they've wrestled before, we all know about their program in 2003, which was one of the programs used to elevate Brock Lesnar. So we've seen it enough. If you're a long-term fan, you know that they've wrestled before. And on the one hand, there's an advantage to that because we know the quality of match that they can give us. On the other hand, it might have that been there, seen it all before feel to it. And that's not something you want to always have at WrestleMania. The only way you can do a match like that really is when the characters evolve so much that it actually feels like a fresh match, or that they've been so far away from each other that it feels like a fresh match. And they do have the second part I just said more than anything. The other thing worries me is that Undertaker can be very overprotective about the way he's booked, and let's be honest, he holds that streak near and dear to his heart like it's one of his own children. And I know he's going to want the match to be of high quality and be epic and be the big thrill ride that most of his matches can be, but we also know that he can be a bit funny sometimes working with people, and I really hope that that doesn't happen in this match. What do I think in the end? I think that potentially it could be a match of the year, although Taker's body has been broken down a lot more. I will be honest, I think he's really starting to show his age, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but when you've been in there and you've had the wars that he's had and you have the age and the injuries, it does begin to show, and I noticed it a lot at 27 and 28 and 29. I noticed that starting to show on him more and more, and I think that when I've heard that he did a match with the Shield and he was really injured afterwards, that concerns me because Lesnar is known for a very physical style, and who knows, this might be one of Taker's last matches, but I'll be honest with you, I would rather they set up Taker's next WrestleMania match after the Lesnar one. I would love it if after Undertaker has defeated Brock Lesnar and he has the triumphant bit, maybe someone like a Dean Ambrose or a Bray Wyatt comes out and lays him out and busts him up so badly that you think it's the end, and now you've got a program for next year's WrestleMania, and then that guy challenges the streak, and it's in Dallas, Texas, at his home state, I believe, and he walks off into the sunset or rides off into the sunset. I think that would be a great thing to do. Interesting that but they would need to really build someone, and that's one of the problems. Who could they build for next year's WrestleMania? Maybe a Daniel Bryan. I know that he apparently requested to work with him. Who knows? It's up to the company. But again, you always run that risk of kind of somewhat hurting somebody at the same point, because if they don't win and then they've got to headline the next 6 pay-per-views and fans don't have faith in them after that, that's the problem. So it's better off you put him in there with an established guy. So probably, this is probably a perfect match for him. Anyways, look at me, I'm wittering on and droning on and blah 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 blah. Guys, you let me know what you think. Let me know what you feel. Are you looking forward to Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker? Is this the match that you're most anticipating of the entire show? If you haven't been here before, I do wrestling, MMA, boxing. Sometimes I'll talk about comic books if you want. I'll talk about anything you want me to do. Request it and I will do it. Guys, take care. Love you all. Stay safe and support the cause. For Syria, there we go. Screen cap that if you can. Take care and see you soon.